Tanzania oye! Makamu wa Rais Dr. Philip Mpango oye!
Mtazamaji wa TBC1 na karibu katika matangazo ya moja kwa moja, ambapo hii leo katika ukumbi wa mikutano hapa katika Benki Kuu ya Tanzania na ukumbi wa mikutano wa Kilimanjaro kuna uzinduzi wa mpango mkakati wa taifa wa huduma jumuishi za kifedha kwa miaka mitano 2023-2028. Kwa kuletea matangazo haya ni mimi mtangazaji wako Gloria Michael, na tayari mgeni rasmi amekwisha wasili katika ukumbi huu ambaye ni makamu wa Rais Dr. Philip Mpango. Tafadhali ungana nasi kwa matangazo haya.
United Republic of Tanzania, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers are present. Honorable Mr. Albert Charamila, Regional Commissioner of Dar es Salaam. Honorable Mr. Emmanuel Mpawe Tutuba, Chair of National Council for Financial Inclusion and the Governor of the Bank of Tanzania. Honorable Widebo, Dutch Ambassador in Tanzania. Other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. We have gathered here today to launch the third Financial Inclusion Framework, which is a private-public stakeholders initiative. This framework builds on the second framework, which ended 2022. The third framework will be implemented from 2023 to 2028. Your Excellency, before we proceed, may you allow me to invite our religious leaders for prayers.
Naam, tuwakaribishe viongozi wetu wa dini tuweze kupata baraka za Mwenyezi Mungu katika tukio letu. Nimkaribishe mchungaji Charles Mzinga kutoka CCT asogee hapa kutuongoza kwa ajili ya sala fupi. Karibu mchungaji.
Niwaombe tusimame. Tuombe. Mungu wetu na Baba yetu, katika jina lako Yesu Kristo, umetupa leo siku ya tarehe 3 mwezi wa 8 kukusanyika mahali hapa kwa ajili ya taifa letu la Tanzania. tunakushukuru kwa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania inayoongozwa na mtumishi wako Mama Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan pamoja na wasaidizi wake wote katika ngazi mbalimbali. Bwana, kusanyiko hili linaongozwa na mtumishi wako Makamu wa Rais Dr. Mpango. Na kushukuru kwa ajili ya wajumbe wote watakaohusika katika mada na mambo mbalimbali yaliyo mbele yetu. Tunaomba ututangulie katika kusanyiko hili, uanze na kumaliza nasi, katika jina lako Mungu Baba na Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Amen. Tafadhali tu.
Naomba sasa kumkaribisha Father Alistair Makubi kutoka TEC aje naye atuongoze kwa sala fupi. Karibu Father.
Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana na la Roho Mtakatifu, tuombe. Mungu Baba, tunashukuru kwa yote unayotujalia katika maisha yetu sisi wanao. Tunakushukuru kwa namna pekee kwa siku ya leo tunapokutana pamoja kama taifa katika uzinduzi wa mpango huu mkakati wa kiuchumi wa kitaifa unaolenga kusogeza huduma za kifedha karibu zaidi na watu. Mungu Baba, wewe usipojenga nyumba wajenga wanafanya kazi bure. Hivyo tunauombea mpango huu ili uweze kutekelezeka na uwe rafiki kwa watu wote, na kwa namna pekee kwa wale wenye kipato cha chini zaidi. Wapo watu wengi, we mtu mmoja mmoja au katika vikundi ambao wanapitia changamoto nyingi za kiuchumi. Tunaomba mpango huu uangalie kwa namna pekee watu hao ili kuwasaidia kuboresha zaidi maisha yao. Taratibu za kibenki zisionekane ni kwa ajili ya wenye nacho tu, bali ziwafikie hata wote, na zikiwaangalia kwa namna pekee wale walio pembezoni. Taratibu hizi zikutangulize wewe Mungu na kumwangalia mwanadamu uliyemuumba kwa sura na mfano wako, na kumjalia yeye na kumwangalia yeye kwanza kabla ya yote. Kwa njia ya Bwana wetu Yesu Kristo mwanao, anaishi na kutawala nawe katika umoja wa Roho Mtakatifu milele na milele. Amina.
Naomba tukae tu Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais. Sasa kwa kumalizia, nimkaribishe Bwana Sadiki Nyanzawa kwa niaba ya waumini wa dini ya Kiislamu asogee kwa ajili ya dua fupi. Karibu.
Naomba mkae. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mwenyezi Mungu mwingi wa rehema, amani na baraka, waja wako wamekusanyika leo hii mbele yako kuomba au kuandaa au kujaribu kuzungumza na kutekeleza mpango wa kuondoa umaskini. Mola, ni wewe ndio unaweza kuondoa umaskini, ndio unaweza kuleta faraja, ndio unaweza kuleta baraka na amani. Mungu mwingi wa rehema, namwombea amani, salama na afya njema rais wetu na makamu na viongozi wengine wote ambao wapo kwa ajili ya kulitumikia taifa hili, kuondoa umaskini, kuleta amani, furaha na upendo miongoni mwao. Kwa baraka zako Allah, naomba mpango huu ufanikiwe, kwa sababu lengo lake ni kuwasaidia waja wako. Nashukuru. Alhamdulillah.
Tuwapongeze kwa makofi viongozi wetu wa dini. Na sasa hapana shaka tutapata baraka za Mwenyezi Mungu katika jambo letu. Your Excellency Dr. Mpango, Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, allow me now to make introduction of participants of this event. To start with ministers. Dr. Mwigulu Nchemba, Minister of Finance of the United Republic of Tanzania. Makofi jamani. Mheshimiwa Angela Kairuki, Minister of President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government. Professor Joyce Ndolichako, Minister from Prime Minister's Office, Labor, Youth Employment and Persons with Disability. Mheshimiwa Dorothy Gwajima, Minister of Community Development, Gender, Women and Special Groups. Makofi kwake. We have also Deputy Minister of Industry and Business, Exaud Kigahe. Your Excellency Vice President, we have Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner Albert Chalamila, mwenyeji wetu, makofi kwake. We have permanent secretaries, popote mlipo, makatibu wakuu. Asante, Governor of BOT, Mr. Emmanuel Tutuba. Deputy Governor, Mama Sauda Msemo. Ambassador Web de Boer of Netherlands, makofi kwake. District Commissioners of Dar es Salaam. Thank you. Development partners, wherever you are. Okay, thank you, makofi kwao. We have also members of Advisory Committee for Generation Equality. Okay, Women Affairs Committee for Financial Inclusion, wale pale. Religious leaders ambao wametuongoza hapa, naomba msimame awaone tena kwa mara nyingine, makofi kwao. But also we have members of National Councils of Financial Inclusion. Makofi mingi kwao. Hawa ndio wenye jambo lao. Asante sana, tunaendelea.
Your Excellency, allow me now to invite Chair of the National Council for Financial Inclusion and the Governor of the Bank of Tanzania, Mr. Emmanuel Tutuba, for his welcoming remarks. Karibu.
Your Excellency, Dr. Philip Mpango, the Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Honorable Dr. Mwigulu Lameck Nchemba, Minister of Finance, United Republic of Tanzania, Honorable Ministers who are present today with us here, Honorable Albert Chalamila, Regional Commissioner for Dar es Salaam region, Your Excellency, Weber Abo, the Dutch Ambassador in Tanzania, who also representing Her Majesty Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, who is also the United Nations Secretary General's Special Advocate for Inclusive Finance for Development, Excellencies, Heads of Diplomatic Mission and Development Partners who are present with us today, Permanent Secretaries and the Principal Secretaries from both Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar, Honorable District Commissioners, Chief Executive Officers from the public institutions as well as private institutions, religious leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Your Excellency, the Vice President, first and foremost, I wish to dedicate my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Almighty God for making it possible for all of us to be here today. I express my sincere appreciation to you personally, the Vice President, and all invited guests for accepting our invitation to this important event for the financial sector development in Tanzania. Your good attendance and the continued collaboration among stakeholders have made us to feel privileged to register this milestone for launching the third National Financial Inclusion Framework for 2023 up to 2028. We humbly say thank you very much for coming and you are warmly welcome. I also express sincere appreciation to Her Majesty Queen Maxima of the Netherlands for the gesture of high commitment to supporting Tanzania's journey in deepening the financial inclusion. We also remember that she's the one who launched officially the second financial inclusion framework, which has just ended and now we are launching today the third one. So we express our gratitude to her. I acknowledge the unfettered effort of the ministers of finance from Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar, and the seamless cooperation from the financial sector stakeholders, both from mainland Tanzania and Zanzibar, for their effective participation in developing this third financial inclusion framework. I further extend my appreciation to various stakeholders and partners for their continued support in our efforts toward the development of the financial sector in Tanzania. Your Excellency, the Vice President, the government efforts to ensure that individuals have equal access and the usage of formal financial sectors started way back in 1999 by implementing the first and the second generation financial sector reforms. Over the years of implementing these reforms, major interventions were made, including allowing private banks to operate in the country through development of laws and regulations for banks, and putting in place good working environment for financial services providers and the financial regulators of subsectors such as banking, insurance, pension, capital markets, mobile money wallets, and others. The reforms also aimed at expanding financial services in the country through specific policies and laws that have paved the way for the regulatory scope and the supervision of the microfinance sector. Likewise, the government has made steady and enhancing small and medium enterprises subsector through national policy formulations, aiming at, among others, increasing access to credit by small businesses. Despite the commendable efforts during the first and the second generation financial sector reforms, challenges associated with expanding access to and the usage of formal financial services for individuals and businesses remained. These challenges related to long distance of financial services to access point, large number of individuals without national identification, unaffordable environment for efficient growth of financial service providers, high level of business informalities, low level of financial literacy, low consumer confidence to financial service providers, ineffective complaints handling and resolution mechanisms, high cost of financial services, and low access to smartphones. Your Excellency, the Vice President, since year 2014, the government took deliberate decisions to expand the scope by engaging the private sector to collectively address challenges in deepening financial exclusion in the country. It is among other initiatives against this background that the National Council for Financial Inclusion was established as a platform for engagements. The platform, therefore, brings together partners, including permanent secretaries from ministries which are closely associated with the delivery of financial services, financial sector regulators, associations of financial service providers, and the consumers of financial services. Since its inception, the National Council for Financial Inclusion has developed and implemented 2 editions of National Financial Inclusion Frameworks. In the process, the Council engages members of the public and the private sectors to develop strategic initiatives that are implemented in the period of 5 years with a view to addressing barriers for increasing access and usage of financial services by individuals and businesses in Tanzania. The first National Financial Inclusion Framework which was implemented from 2014 to 2016, yielded desired results. For instance, the level of adult population using formal financial services increased from 55% in 2013 to 65% in 2017. The second financial inclusion framework, which was implemented between 2018 to 2022, continued to address the barriers for accessing and the usage of formal financial services successfully by reducing the level of financial excluded adult population from 28% in 2017 to 19% in 2023. In addition, the level of adult population using formal financial services increased from 65% in 2017 to 76% in 2023. Your Excellency, the Vice President, to sustain these achievements and address the current challenges, the government, in collaboration with the private sector, has developed the third National Financial Inclusion Framework, whose implementation covers the period from 2023 to 2028. The framework is geared towards expanding usage of formal financial services from 76% to 85% by 2028. Among other things, implementation of the framework will expand availability of the financial access points in rural areas, broaden usage of financial services by increasing choices and enhancing the design of financial solutions to align with the needs of consumers and enhance equality of financial services by improving customer experiences, delivering affordable financial solutions, enhancing consumer complaints handling and readiness mechanisms, as well as implementing programs for financial literacy, both to the off-schooling and the schooling population. Your Excellency, the Vice President, I also wish to inform you that the implementation of this framework will support the attainment of the Tanzania Developed Vision 2025, the Zanzibar Developed Vision 2050, the National 5-Year Development Plan 3, and the Financial Sector Development Master Plan, which was a certain implementation since 2021 to 2029-2030. All these plans focus on enhancing incomes of individuals and reduce poverty and inequality, which are well aligned with Sustainable Development Goals, to which Tanzania is bound as a member of the United Nations. Your Excellency, the Vice President, to implement the set objectives in time, this framework has prioritized the need to address financial inclusion challenges faced by the underserved segments, including women, youth, small and medium enterprises, persons with disability, and smallholders, farmers, and fishers. It is my great conviction that since we have succeeded in the reduction of the gender gap in access to formal financial services from 10% in 2017 to 4% in 2023, we shall continue to collaborate and extend financial services to women as well as other segments which are still facing financial services challenges. Effective implementation of this framework will also depend on the increased adoption of financial technology, innovations in the design and the delivery of financial products and services, and eligible legal and regulatory frameworks, financial systems interoperability, availability of information to consumer and of financial services, and enhanced consumer protection. Further, mindful of the importance of technology in the implementation of these initiatives, the government's continued support to national identification will facilitate setup of strategies to ease and expand the issuance of national identification to help enhance client on board and save in the usage of digital financial services. Your Excellency, the Vice President, the implementation of this framework invites all stakeholders from the government and the private sector to dedicate financial service resources and expedite the implementation of identified initiatives. In this regard, I call upon development partners and the heads of public institutions responsible for overseeing the implementation of these initiatives to collaborate with the government and facilitate the implementation of the framework. Lastly, Your Excellency, the Vice President, once again, on behalf of members of the National Council for Financial Inclusion, we congratulate all government leaders from the United Republic of Tanzania as well as those from Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar for their continued support to the development of the financial sector reforms in Tanzania. We have, in the recent past, witnessed significant transformation culminating to enhanced stability as well as inclusive in the financial sector in the country. Your Excellency, the Vice President, with this remark, I thank you very much for your attention. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza.
Thank you, Governor and Chair of the National Council for Financial Inclusion, Mr. Emmanuel Tutuba, for the introductory remarks, which has really informed the audience of where Tanzania is with financial inclusion. Also, Your Excellency, right now, can you allow me now to invite the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Juma Malik Akil from Zanzibar, to read the salutation remarks on behalf of Dr. Saada Mkuya, the Minister of Finance and Planning, Zanzibar.
Your Excellency, Dr. Philip Isidore Mpango, Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Your Majesty Queen Maxima of Netherlands, and the UN Secretary General, Special Advocate for Inclusive Finance Development, Dr. Mwigulu Lameck Nchemba, Minister for Finance of the United Republic of Tanzania, Honorable Ministers present here, Honorable Albert Chalamila, Regional Commissioner of the Dar es Salaam region, Dr. Natu Elmamri Mwamba, Permanent Secretary, and the Paymaster General of the Minister of Finance of the United Republic of Tanzania, colleagues, Permanent Secretaries and Principal Secretaries, Governor of the Bank of Tanzania, Emmanuel Mpao Tutuba, Excellency Wiabe de Board, Dutch Embassy in Tanzania, Excellency Head of Diplomatic Mission and Development Partners present here, Member of the National Council for Financial Inclusion, Chief Executive of the Public Institutions, Honorable District Commissioners, religious leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Na wasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. First of all, I would like to thank Almighty God for granting us health and enabling us to participate in this historical event in our country. I further extend my appreciation and congratulations to Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, for continued effort to promote growth of the financial sector and for enhanced economic development. I also extend my congratulations to the Chairperson of the National Financial Inclusion, Mr. Emmanuel Tutuba, who is also the Governor of the Central Bank of Tanzania, for coordinating all financial inclusion stakeholders in the country to have this third national financial inclusion framework in place. Your Excellency, Vice President, and distinguished guests, on behalf of the people of Zanzibar, I wish to acknowledge and appreciate the deliberate effort taken by the two governments under the leadership of Her Excellency, Madam Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, and the President of Zanzibar and Chairman of the Revolutionary Government, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, for their continued support, not only in unlocking investment opportunities for financial sector, but also their passion to improve financial welfare of marginalized and unprivileged segments in the country, including women, youth, and rural population. Your Excellencies, the launch of third national financial inclusion will unlock the potential for the blue economy and create more opportunities in fisheries, tourism, climate change-related initiatives, just to mention a few. Your Excellency, I understand the implementation of this framework requires commitment of the participating ministries, governments, agencies for the two governments. Today, on behalf of the Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar, we pledge our commitment and support to this initiative to ensure the realization of the desired outcomes of this particular framework. Your Excellency, this achievement in the implementation of this framework requires support from both private sector and a public sector. May I take this opportunity to urge private sector stakeholders from Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar to join hands and cooperate with the government in the next 5 years to implement initiatives in this framework to improve financial welfare of our people. Finally, Your Excellency, it is testimony of your continued support in creating a noble environment for financial sector to thrive and will signify fuel and realization of the milestones we have set up to 2028, when the mark of the end of implementation of this framework will be reached. May Almighty Allah bless us, our presidents, Zanzibar and the mainland, and you, Mr. Honorable Vice President, and all members in this particular workshop. I thank you for listening, and nashukuru.
Your Excellency, Vice President, may now allow me to invite the chairperson of our National Council for Financial Inclusion, Governor Emmanuel Tutuba, to welcome Honorable Minister Dr. Mwigulu Nchemba to deliver his remarks. Governor Tutuba, karibu.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, of course, according to our timetable, I think I have already delivered a lot during my remark. Now, I'm a great honor to welcome the Minister for Finance, United Republic of Tanzania, to deliver his remark. Your Honorable Minister, you are warmly welcome to the podium. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Dr. Philip Isdori Mpango, the Vice President, United Republic of Tanzania. I recognize Majesty Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, United Nations Secretary General, Special Advocate for Inclusive Finance for Development, viongozi wetu wa dini, Your Excellency Webb Dibo, Dutch Ambassador here in Tanzania, my fellow ministers here present, heads of diplomatic mission, Mama Natu Mwamba, the Permanent Secretary to Treasury, and all other PSs here present, Mr. Emmanuel Tutuba, Governor, Bank of Tanzania, and all other senior officials here present, kaka yangu mkuu wa mkoa wa Dar es Salaam, Chalamila, all protocol observed, na wasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Your Excellency, Vice President, it is a great privilege and honor to extend my sincere appreciation to you, Your Excellency, Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and Her Majesty Queen Maxima, the United Nations Secretary General's Special Advocate for Inclusive Finance for Development, for accepting our invitation to officiate the launch of the third National Financial Inclusion Framework to be implemented from 2023 to 2028. Your Excellency, Vice President, and all distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Tanzania's financial sector is comprised of 5 subsectors, which are banking, microfinance, insurance, capital markets, and the social security. The subsectors offers a variety of financial services ranging from credit, savings, insurance. The United Republic of Tanzania recognizes the efforts and contribution of the financial sector national economic growth through the facilitation of trade, mobilization of deposits, investment, and intermediation. In the recent past, the financial sector has depicted a growing trend, thus registering a significant contribution in the economy. For instance, in 2022, the financial sector assets grew at around 17.2%, while its contribution to the country's GDP was around 9.2%. In addition, the sector continues to contribute immensely as a key employer to both skilled and unskilled population, hence complementing the government's effort in reducing unemployment and poverty. Many thanks to Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and His Excellency Dr. Hussein Al Mwinyi, the President of Zanzibar, for their concerted efforts in building a strong and resilient financial sector in Tanzania. The growth we witness in the sector is influenced by various efforts, including business formalization initiative, development of inclusive and legal and regulatory frameworks, elimination of levy on mobile money transfers, efforts to address challenges in ownership of land, and challenges of issuance of national IDs. Your Excellency, despite the notable growth of the financial sector in Tanzania, Tanzanians continue to have low uptake of formal financial products and services. For instance, FinScope's survey 2023 indicates that only 22% of adult population have bank accounts, and 10% have taken insurance services, and only 4% have pensions accounts, while those who have invested in capital markets are less than 1%. Mobile money and microfinance services are areas that have registered a significant growth, both in the rural and urban centers. Your Excellency Vice President, the third National Financial Inclusion Framework has been developed to coordinate both the public and private sector to address the financial inclusion barriers. As alluded by the Governor, the new framework is expected to address issues of financial literacy, increase access to smartphones, enhance consumer protection, leverage the technology to improve the delivery of financial services, and consider customer needs in design of financial institutions. And lastly, Your Excellency Vice President and all invited guests, may I also request all the implementing institutions, domestic and international financial inclusion stakeholders, to collaborate during the implementation of the third framework to help Tanzania leapfrog and realize its strategic objectives in financial inclusion. We are looking forward to working together, build a strong financial sector, and facilitate Tanzania become a cash-literate economy consistent with our financial sector development master plan, as well as digital economy strategies. Your Excellency Vice President, with these few remarks, I'm honored to welcome you to address and esteemed audience and the public. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais, uweze kuongea na hadhira hii. Asante sana. Oh, asante sana. I'm given a little correction that there is a video be played before. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the good words, and also for reminding us that together with the increase that has been seen in access and usage of financial services, but still the uptake in banking sector, insurance, pension, and capital market is still low compared to mobile money and microfinance services. Your Excellency, allow me now to take the audience to the documentary, the video one, which is showing how the consumers, financial service consumers, have their experience on financial services.
Ajenda mojawapo ya serikali ya awamu ya sita inaongozwa na Mheshimiwa Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan ni kuhakikisha serikali inakuwa na huduma jumuishi za kifedha zinazowafikia watu wote wa Tanzania bara na Zanzibar. Lengo la mkakati huu au ajenda hii ni kuwezesha wananchi kutimiza majukumu yao, kupata hizo huduma, lakini pia kuendelea kutoa mchango katika ujenzi wa taifa kwa huduma za kijamii na za kiuchumi hapa nchini. Huduma hizi katika ajenda tumeweka kwamba sasa hivi tunao mpango wa Tatu ambao umejengwa chini ya misingi mizuri iliyoanza katika mpango wa kwanza na wa pili, na huu mpango wa Tatu unazinduliwa mwaka huu 2023, lakini tutakuwa ni miaka mitano mpaka mwaka 2028. Katika mpango huu kuna mafanikio mengi yameainishwa, na ukiangalia kwa ujumla kulingana na tafiti zilizofanyika tumefikia kama 76% ya zile huduma rasmi kwa maeneo ya Tanzania bara na Zanzibar ukiyajumuisha kwa pamoja. Lakini pia zipo changamoto mbalimbali ambazo zimejikita hasa kwa makundi kama 6, ikiwemo kundi la vijana, wanawake, watu wenye ulemavu, wakulima, wajasiriamali, lakini pia kuna wavuvi. Ninaamini katika uzinduzi huu wa mpango jumuishi wa huduma rasmi za kifedha tutasikia maelezo ya makundi hayo, na niseme kwamba karibuni sana ili tuendelee na uzinduzi huu wa mpango wa Tatu wa huduma jumuishi za kifedha nchini. Asanteni sana.
Ufugaji wangu nilianza kidogo, nilianzia nyumbani kwangu, nikatamani nifanye ufugaji mkubwa. Mtaji wangu nimepata kutoka kwenye vikoba na vikundi vyetu vya kina mama ambavyo tunafanya vikoba. Niko kwenye vikoba kama vya aina 3 tofauti. Kwa hiyo kupitia hivyo vikoba ndiko nakupata mitaji ya kuendesha ufugaji wangu. Biashara zangu mara nyingi natangaza kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Hata hizo chakula cha kuku nanunua through mitandao. Ila changamoto kubwa iliyokuwepo kwenye simu ni wizi wa mitandao. Unapokuwa tu na hela kidogo nyingi kwenye simu unasumbuliwa sana. Inatufanya tushindwe kufanya saving kwenye simu. Simu zinatusaidia sana, lakini hiyo kitu inatutesa pia sana. Nilikuwa natamani sana kama ningeweza kupata mkopo wenye riba nafuu. Sasa unapochukua mkopo wenye riba kubwa inakuwa vigumu sana kuja kurudisha mkopo. Ni kwamba siwezi kukopa kama sijakidhi vigezo. Kienda benki nitadaiwa dhamana na mimi sina dhamana yote, kwa sababu sisi wanawake wa Kiafrika especially wa umri wetu hatuna mali. Kwa hiyo najikuta nimekwama, siwezi kupata mikopo kwa sababu sifiti kupata mkopo. Kwa kweli ningependa kama huduma za kibenki zingekuwa rafiki, especially kwa wanawake. Mimi ni mama nafuga, lakini mimi ni mama ambaye natakiwa pia kufanya majukumu yote ya nyumbani kwangu. Kwa hiyo nikisema siku niende benki kufuatilia huo mkopo mwanzo hadi mwisho, itanichukua wiki, itanichukua siku 3, siku 4, naenda narudi. Hata muda saa nyingine wa kulisha hata kuku utaukosa.
Kielimu nimegraduate mwaka 2018, nilikuwa nasoma sheria. Lakini baada ya kumaliza sheria nikaamua kujikita na biashara. Na teknolojia ndio kitu cha kwanza ambacho kilinivutia mimi kuingia kwenye ulimwengu wa biashara. Sasa kipindi corona ilipoingia, watu walipokuwa wanakaa nyumbani, tukakaa chini tukaifikiria jinsi ya kuifanyia kazi, ambapo ndio ilikuwa hiyo Mpango app, ambao ni mshauri wako binafsi wa kifedha. Watumiaji wetu wanaweza kufuatilizia matumizi yao ya kibenki, matumizi yao ya miamala ya simu pamoja na cash. Kutokana na taarifa tunazozikusanya kutoka kwa wateja wetu, tunawapa mapendekezo ya namna jinsi ya kuweka akiba na pamoja ya nyanja tofauti ambazo wanaweza kupata mikopo au kuendeleza kukuza investment zao zote ambazo wanakuwa wameshajiwekea kama lengo. Nakumbuka tangu tumeanza, tulipofungua kampuni yetu, tatizo letu kubwa lilikuwa sio idea yenyewe. Tatizo letu kubwa lilikuwa ni mtaji wa kuweza kuikuza hii idea. Kuanzia mwaka 2020 mpaka sasa hivi tumekuwa tukijaribu kupata wawekezaji kwenye nyanja tofauti nje na ndani ya Tanzania, na pia tumejaribu pia reach out kwa mabenki kwa ajili kupata mikopo ili kuweza kukuza idea yetu, lakini tumeishia kutumia akiba zetu, kuomba ndugu zetu waweze kutusupport kwenye biashara zetu ili kuweza kukuza na kufikia hapa tulipo kwa sasa hivi. Ni kutokana na kutokuwa na taarifa toshelezi ya miamala ya benki. Pia benki kama benki haituamini kwamba ubunifu huu je unafanya kazi kweli, au ubunifu huu je una manufaa. Katika kupitia nyaraka tofauti za kisheria, sijaona, au kampuni kama kampuni hatujaona sheria zozote ambazo zimetengenezwa kwa ajili ya kuweza kutusaidia kukuza biashara yetu kwenye sekta tofauti tofauti. Inaweza ikawa sekta ya ubunifu au sekta ya uwekezaji.
Mimi nimemaliza darasa la 7. Nilipomaliza darasa la 7 nilikuwa pale nyumbani sina kazi. Nikaona nije huku mjini nijitafutie kazi. Kazi ambayo mimi nimekuja kuipata huku ni kazi ya makenika. Nafanya kazi ya makenika na miaka 2 sasa. Kipato changu ni kidogo sana, alafu mimi ndo nategemewa. Kipato changu kwa siku yani ni chini ya 5,000. Na kwa siku nyingine unaweza kuondoka una hata shilingi 100. So nashindwa kuelewa yani nafanyaje sasa. Kutokana na kwamba mimi bado sijaweza kumiliki vifaa vyangu, huwa bado natumia vifaa vya fundi kwa sababu bado mimi ni kijana. Sometime yani sina vifaa vya kukizi yani. Nilishafanyaga kazi siku moja nikawa ninachomea. Nimemaliza kuchomea pale, ile kazi ilikuwa ni ya kupiga blender. Nilipiga blender lakini miwani ilikuwa ni ndogo sana. Na maana nilipokuwa napiga blender ile miwani ikaingiza cheche kwa chini. Ile cheche iliingia kwenye jicho na nilipata shida sana, maana yake ilikuwa inaenda kama miezi 2. Gharama zilikopo ni kubwa kutokana na hivi pesa vidogo vidogo ninapopata. Sometimes natamani kujiwekea akiba lakini nashindwa. Kwa sababu sina line ya kwamba niweke hela wala sina uwezo wa kwenda benki kwenda kufungua account ya benki ili nijiwekee hela kwa sababu bado kiwango changu ni kidogo sana. Na sometimes natamani ningepata hata line ili niweze kujiwekea akiba kuwatumia wazazi wangu lakini nashindwa kwa sababu kiwango ni kidogo sana, na natamani nikasajili line lakini kila nikienda naambiwa vigezo havikizi. Sasa sielewa nafanyaje.
Biashara hii nimeianza wakati niko form 1. Faza yangu alikuwa anajihusisha na masuala haya. Alikuwa na ofisi, kwa hiyo nikaa nakwenda na kuanza kujishughulisha kupiga rangi. Mwishoni nikawa fundi. Kwanza jambo la mwanzo kodi. Kwa sababu tukiangalia kwenye masuala ya serikali labda kama kupata mikopo tunashindwa, tunajaribu sana kutafuta mikopo lakini hatubahatiki. Nimeshuhudia miradi mikubwa ambayo Zanzibar sasa hivi inafanyika, labda masoko, mashule, lakini sioni labda kwamba kuna nafasi ambazo tunazipata. Kazi za serikali zilivyo, unaweza kupewa hela nusu koja kumaliziwa baadaye. Vipi mimi nitaweza kuifanya ile kazi? Labda mimi uwezo sina. Inabidi nenda nikaombe mkopo utambulikani. Labda ninapopata kazi labda kutoka serikalini kuna risiti ambayo ya TRA ili nikimaliza ile kazi niweze kuwapa. Kwa hiyo ile kazi mimi naweza nikaikosa kupitia swala hilo hapo. Kwa sababu sina uwezo wa mashine. Tunahitaji vifaa ambavyo vya kuweza kutukinga na ajali. Kwa sababu muda wote saa yoyote tunaweza tukapata ajali. Kwa hiyo unaweza kujaribu kukimbilia hospitali, kisha ukifika hospitali unaambiwa bwana changamoto ya hapo na lazima ipatikane PH3 kutoka kituoni. Unatafuta PH3 pale, unaweza kaambiwa bwana nyinyi hamjaumia katika kazi. Labda mmepigana una vipi? Ukikosa PH3 inabidi uende zako kwenye hospitali za kulipia. Hela ambayo unatakiwa amount ni kubwa.
Mimi nilikuwa mzima, lakini baada ya kupata ajali ndio nikapata ulemavu huu mnaouona, lakini pia maisha yangu yakabadilika kabisa. Lakini baadaye nikaukubali ulemavu wangu. Nikaona sasa nianze upya. Nikapata mfadhili ambaye aliniletea fundi, nikajifunza kutengeneza sendo za ngozi na sasa hivi nimeweza. Biashara yangu hii imenisaidia kumsomesha binti yangu. Biashara yangu hii inanisaidia kula. Biashara yangu hii imenisaidia kujenga. Kutokana na hali yangu ya ulemavu niliokuwa nayo, nafanya kazi kwa mkono mmoja. Inaniwia ngumu wakati mwingine kutumia nguvu, lakini wakati mwingine ninashindwa kabisa. Taasisi za benki haziwaamini watu wenye ulemavu hata kidogo. Unaweza ukaenda benki, uchukua mkopo, ukaletewa vikwazo, leta hati ya nyumba, leta hati ya makazi, sijui leta kadi ya gari. Sasa mimi ni mfanyabiashara mdogo. Sijafikia level ya kuwa na gari. Kadi nitaitoa wapi? Wakati mwingine utakuta mtu mwenye ulemavu ana wheelchair lakini hakuna miundombinu ya kupita na wheelchair. Hawezi kupanda na zile fimbo zake kwa sababu hakuna miundombinu rafiki.
kilimo ndo hatamu kubwa sana katika kutunza familia. Manake bila kilimo huwezi ukapata kitu. Ukilima miogo watoto wanakula, mahindi, mpunga, yani kila kitu, pamoja na haya mazao ya biashara pia ndio yanayotusaidia sisi katika kuwalea vizuri watoto wetu pamoja na sisi wenyewe. Stakabadhi ghalani ilikuwa na mfumo mzuri kiasi fulani, lakini kadri tunavyokwenda kule matatizo ya changamoto mbalimbali zinatokea. Ile pesa inakaa mno sana kule, lazima kwanza usubiri. Unaposubiri manake na wewe huku unapata tatizo, yani huna hela ya matumizi. Sasa atapita mlanguzi pale, bwana wewe nataka angalau kilo 2, utanipa bei gani? Sasa atakuuzia yeye kule, serikali imetangaza shilingi 3,900 na kadhaa, lakini huyu mlanguzi huko anakupa shilingi 2,500. Kwa hiyo sasa wewe unatoa, unajua kwamba hii hela ndogo, lakini wakati huo unafanya vile ili mradi upate angalau chochote kitu uweze kunufaika. Kwa mfano kama tumeingia sasa katika msimu wa mashamba ya korosho, lazima kwanza ifekwe mashamba yenye, kama una eka 10 manake usafishe iwe safi. Maana heka moja ukishalima, wafanyakazi wa kufyeka eka moja analipa kwa shilingi 70,000. Unaona bwana? Sasa ninapofikia mahala zile pembejeo zikichelewa, manake hatwendi kwa muda. Unaona bwana? Inaweza kwa mfano sasa hivi korosho inatoa maua, kama hujawahi kuua wale wadudu kwa hiyo baadaye ukisha kumwagia ndo basi tena ushachelewa.
Shughuli yangu kubwa ni uvuvi. Uvuvi ndo ambao kwamba mimi ndo shughuli yangu kubwa. Uvuvi huu ambao kwamba mimi ndo nasomesha watoto wangu. Uvuvi huu ndo mimi naipata mahitaji yangu. Uvuvi huu ambao kwamba mimi nalipa kodi kupitia uvuvi. Japo mengine makubwa zaidi siwezi kuyapata kutokana kwamba maslahi yenyewe pengine ni madogo. Kwa kweli shughuli ya uvuvi inategemea, kwa sababu muda mwingine unaweza ukawa umefanikiwa ukakuta samaki wengi, lakini sasa unashindwa, unaona, kuwapata wote ukawahifadhi kutokana kwamba huna vifaa vitendea kazi, yani vya kuwahifadhi wale samaki. Utaenda huko ukishakuwapata hao kidogo unakimbilia mbio juu ili uje kuuza samaki wako haraka ili wasiharibike. Unaona, kwa sababu ukiwaeka kwa muda fulani, pengine samaki umemvua saa 5, ikifika saa 12 yule tayari anaanza kuharibika. Kwa hiyo natakiwa uwahi haraka ili uuze. Unaona, lakini muda mwingine ukakuta hamna mafanikio yote. Na tamani niwe na chombo kikubwa, lakini siwezi kuomba mkopo kutokana kwamba kwanza najua pengine itakuwa ina zamani kama zamana. Mimi sina nyumba ya kuweka. Unaona, mimi pengine nitakuwa bwana tunakupa, lakini twende tukaone shamba lako kwanza. Mimi sina shamba, naishia tu hivyo. Kwa hiyo siwezi kwa kweli kuomba. Natamani niwe nao nipate, lakini siwezi kwenda kuomba kutokana na vikwazo kama hivyo hapo. Swala la uchumi wa bluu tumeshasikia. Unaona? Na mmeshasikia kama kuna mikopo inatoka huko, kuna sijui nini inatoka, lakini mimi binafsi sijaipata wala sijui nianzie wapi ili kuipata.
Leave no one behind. Huu ndio ujumbe ambao mkakati wetu ambao tunauzindua siku ya leo umeubeba. Video hii imezingatia makundi 5 ambayo yameachwa nyuma, kama Governor Tutuba alivyoongea kwamba makundi hayo ni wanawake, vijana, watu wenye mahitaji maalum, wakulima wadogo na wavuvi pamoja na wavuvi, na vile vile wafanyabiashara wadogo na wakati. Naomba kwa ruhusa yako Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais, niwasimamishe kwa ufupi kidogo watambue waliohusika kwenye hii video kama ulivyowaona. Naomba pale walipo wasimame. Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais, naomba sasa turuhusu kusikia maneno kutoka kwa viongozi wetu mbalimbali
Honorable Vice President, we are now going to proceed, and all protocol observed, we are now going to proceed to the panel session. Session hii ni kwa ajili ya kuzungumzia jinsi ambavyo viongozi waliopo hapa wakiwakilishwa katika sekta mbalimbali, sekta ya umma pamoja na binafsi, katika kutatua changamoto tulizoziona katika video iliyopita kwa makundi mbalimbali ya wananchi halisi katika uhalisia wa maisha yao. Hayakuwa maagizo, ni jinsi ambavyo wanaishi. Kuna faida kubwa ambazo wamezipata kutokana na mafanikio ambayo serikali yetu imeyafanya kwa miaka hii yote hadi kufikia kwamba wameweza kuwa katika hatua mbalimbali za kuweza kupata kipato. Bila kipato ni vigumu kuweza kuingia katika mifumo rasmi. Kwa hiyo tunashukuru juhudi na jitihada za serikali kufanya mipango hiyo ya kuweza kusaidia wananchi kujikwamua katika changamoto wanazozipata za maisha. Lakini kuna changamoto ambazo zinaendelea, ndizo hizo ambazo tutazizungumza hapa. Tutatumia lugha mbalimbali za Kiingereza na Kiswahili, lakini maandalizi pia yatakuwa kwa Kiingereza na tutasummarize mwishowe. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to proceed now with the fireside chat. Na naomba niwatambulishe the panel. Nitatoa brief bio ya kila kiongozi aliyoko hapa. Nitaanza na Mheshimiwa Angela Kariuki. Currently she's the Minister in the President Office, Region and Administrative and Local Government. She's also the Chairperson of the National Advisory and Coordinating Committee on Generation Equality for implementation on women's economic justice and right. Career-wise, Mrs. Kairuki is an advocate of the High Court and a member of Tanzania Institute of Arbitrators. She has previously served in her capacity in different ministries in the country as the Minister of Investment, responsible for investment, minerals, public services and good governance, land, housing and human settlement, and also constitutional and legal affairs. In 2014, Mrs. Kairuki was elected World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. A round of applause for Mrs. Kairuki, Honorable Mrs. Kairuki. Thank you. And the second panelist is Honorable Dr. Natu Elmamri Mwamba. She is the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury in the Ministry of Finance, United Republic of Tanzania. Dr. Mwamba is a member of the National Advisory and Coordinating Committee on Generation Equality Forum on Implementation on Women's Economic Justice and Rights in Tanzania. She's also a member of the National Council for Financial Inclusion. Dr. Mwamba is also the chairperson of Kilimanjaro Airport Development Company. She's also a member of the board of Citibank and member of Grasa Machel Trust Expert Leader Group on Women, Financial Inclusion and Digital Economy. Dr. Mwamba was the first deputy governor in this country, in Tanzania, in the Bank of Tanzania, with vast experience in banking. Dr. Mwamba has previously been a senior lecturer in the University of Dar es Salaam, and she served various capacity and positions in the University of Dar es Salaam. And Dr. Mwamba has carried out extensive research and published widely. A round of applause for Dr. Mwamba. Thank you. I'll now introduce Mrs. Sauda Msemo. She's the Deputy Governor of Financial Stability and Financial Deepening in the Bank of Tanzania. She's the member of the Advisory and Coordinating Committee on Generation Equality Forum Implementation on Women's Economic Justice and Rights in Tanzania. She's also a member of the National Steering Committee for Financial Inclusion. Mrs. Msemo is also the chairperson of the National Multidisciplinary Committee on Anti-Money Laundering and a voting member of the Global Standard and Policy Committee of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion and a member of Tanzania National Business Council Finance Working Group. Mrs. Sauda Msemo is the second woman deputy governor in Tanzania, and she has served in various positions in the bank previously and the Ministry of Finance, and and also outside the country. She's also served previously in the Ministry of Finance as a Debt Policy Commissioner for External and Finance Planning, financial analyst in the Bank of Tanzania, and also during her career, she was a research assistant at Vertex Financial Services. A round of applause for Mrs. Sauda Msemo. Thank you. And I'll also introduce in our panel, we have Mr. Theobald Sabi. Mr. Theobald Sabi is the Managing Director of the National Bank of Commerce and Tanzania's largest serving bank since 2018. And he's previously served as the bank's Director for Corporate and Investment Banking and had success tenure in Standard Chartered Bank. Mr. Sabi is an interim chairman of the Tanzania Bankers Association, a leading professional organization representing banks and financial institutions in Tanzania. He's also the chairman of the Tanzania Mortgage Finance Company Limited, TMRC, a financial institution established to foster development of the mortgage market in Tanzania. Mr. Sabi is an ardent leader. He sits on the boards of the Bank of Tanzania Training Institute and also Tanzania Private Sector Foundation under the local finance under the local content and economic diplomacy committee. Mr. Sabi is known for his firm belief in investing in technology, customer centricity, compliance, philanthropy, and strategic partnership. He has a visionary approach on addressing fundamental and principal issues and having enabled NMBC Bank to remarkably transform from a loss-making entity in 2018 to one of Tanzania's leading commercial bank. A round of applause for Mr. Sabi, please. And lastly, but not the least, we have Mr. Tony Misokia. He's a co-founder of Laina Finance, which was awarded as East Africa's best fintech in device financing, East Africa's most prominent fintech, and Africa's InsurTech award-winning company. He's also a co-founder of SoloCades, a fintech that specializes in designing inclusive, innovative solutions that increase efficiency in the financial sector. He is also a co-founder of Fintech Association, former member of Insurance Technical Working Group. Tony holds a bachelor's in marketing. He is also recognized as a member and advisor to several local and international growth companies, passionate about designing and implementing impact-driven and inclusive innovative solutions. Tony is a strong believer that there is a unicorn that will be born or that will come from Tanzania. A round of applause for Tony, please. Now we're starting, and it's my honor and pleasure to start with Honorable Minister Kairuki. And the question that, following the video that we have seen and the discussion and the speeches that were delivered from the high table, the Honorable Governor, Honorable Minister, and the salutations we received from Zanzibar, we have seen the progress that the country has made, but also the challenges that we have encountered. So how do we then move from here by harnessing available opportunities to combat the challenges faced by underserved population, the segments that we also saw in the videos, and some of them are also businesses, individual businesses, in accessing formal financial services. Welcome, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, the moderator. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and other distinguished members, all protocols observed. Thank you so much. For me, I'll tackle mostly on the progress that we have made as a country, but also the interventions. And before I proceed, kindly also allow me to thank the organizers, particularly the Central Bank and the Women Financial Inclusion Committee, for also inviting me to be a participant in this leadership fireside chat. But I would also like to congratulate BOT, but also the Governor and the Minister of Finance, but also the entire team who has made it possible to prepare the National Financial Inclusion Framework Phase 3. And I'm glad that we are launching it today, few days or few weeks after the launching of the FinScope 2023, which is the 5th wave. And I'm also glad to be amongst me, some of the members of the Generation Equality Forum. And I'm delighted that in this leadership fireside chat, 3 of the members in this panel are also GF members. And I'm glad that coincidentally, it is the Vice President who is launching this, this financial inclusion framework, and he was the one particularly representing Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan in Paris during the launching of the Generation Equality Forum in June 2021. So I'm glad that he's the one who is also launching this particularly financial inclusion framework. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the Vice President, but also the Minister for Finance and the Governor for making it also possible. But I would also happy that so far as a country, we have made huge strides, particularly in the gap reduction between the unserved but also the underserved population. And right now, as the ones who are financially excluded stands at 6.4 million, which is almost 18.7%, while previously, through the other FinScope report, this number was standing at almost 7.8 million. So you can see that as a country, we are making progress, and this is done by none other than the central bank, but our country through the Ministry of Finance, but also the Women Financial Inclusion, but through the other previous 2 frameworks that have already passed through. But also, for me, I would also like to touch upon particularly the women and young women, and later on the youth population. And as you know, mostly women, they are the least served. And mostly, almost 10% have been having a persistent gender gap, particularly in financial inclusion. So I'm glad that we are having this Financial Inclusion Framework 3, and I believe through the 6 themes that the Governor has presented, that this will be tackled and will reduce this persistent gender gap in financial inclusion, particularly for the women. But also, as the government, we are ready to have several interventions, and particularly as also for GEF, we have the National Program of Action of 5 years, which in it has embedded some of the various financial inclusion interventions that they augur very well with this National Financial Inclusion Framework 3 that we are about to launch today. So far, some of the initiatives that the government is working upon is also the implementation of land reforms that will ensure that women have access to land ownership, and this in turn will open the possibility of women having access to collateral, because we know if you lack collateral, obviously you cannot be able to get a loan from the various form of financial sectors. So particularly for this one, as the government as well, some of the major challenges have been the institutional barriers. So as the government, we are tackling this to ensure that we remove all the bottlenecks and barriers institutionally, but also to make sure that we have a better business environment, but also regulatory framework and environment, enabling policies, but also the legislative framework. And for this one as well, since most of our women, they are based in the rural settings, and particularly through our Village Land Act number 5 of 1999, we have several procedures that have been passed with. So for this one, right now, most of our women, they lack ownership to land, which is a very productive resource. And for that, so far, we have almost 20.8% of our villages that have the village land use plan. So particularly for this year, as the government, we have set aside some of the funding to ensure that we have almost more than 2,000 villages which will be prepared for the village land use planning, which eventually will make sure that we have the customary land titles that will be dispersed to our women, which eventually will also help them to have access to capital. And so far, maybe for the basic statistics, so far our women is only 9% who have the sole land ownership, compared to men who are 30%. But also for the joint land ownership, the number stands at 7% for women. But also for the women who have land titles or right of occupancy is only 2.3% as of 2017. So you can see that the number is still very low, and obviously you'll be finding that women will be having some hurdles when they want to access some capitals through the financial sector. But also number two, as the government, we want to tackle the issue of addressability challenge, particularly on the issue of access points. So far, according to the financial inclusion, it's supposed to be not more than 5 kilometers. And for this one, I'm glad that at least the number now stands at 89%. But also another addressability challenge is the issue of national identification numbers, which I think the governor, or through the documentary we also heard, is one of the challenges for people to access the financial services. And for this one, so far, the number now stands at 57%. So our National Identification Authority, they are still working on this one. And so far, the government, through the Ministry of Finance, has given some funding to NIDA to make sure that they roll out the issuance of the national identification numbers, but also the NIDA cards as well. But also number three, which is very critical on the addressability challenge, is the issue of mobile ownership through the mobile penetration. And this number also stands at 75%. So you can see the number is increasing, and we believe will make a huge success in the near future. But also we have various programs like TASAF program, which is providing, the government has allocated some funding to provide conditional cash transfers to the poor and the needy families. And for this one, it has also helped the poor families to enter into some of the economic and productive activities, and hence these are also the potential customers of the financial services. And they have been empowered also to enter in various economic livelihood groups, whereby so far almost 353 economic groups have been formulated, and they've been able to also serve 6.2 billion T-shillings, and they've also been able to lend almost 2.9 billion through these beneficiaries of TASAF program. But also as the government, another progress is through the tuition-free policy or program, whereby so far as of now, pre-primary up to Form 6, we have 15.1 million students who are also in this program. So the funding that was used, or the exposable income that was supposed to be paid as tuition fee, at least now the families can be able to use it as savings, but also to create a capital for various activities. But also further to this, seeing that most of the women were lacking access to capital, as the government since 2018, we also started a program through our local government authorities, whereby through the collections of our local government councils, we allocate 10% of the collection to make sure that we give out as interest-free loans 4% to women economic groups, 4% to the youth groups, but also 2% to the persons with disability groups. And for this one, we've already issued almost to 44,461 economic groups, funding to the tune of almost 229.01 billion. And for this one, we'll continue to improving the regulations so that more women, youth, but also the persons with disability can also access this funding. But further, to sum it up, we have various programs like in agriculture. We have the Building Better Tomorrow, which we hope that up to 2030, it will also create almost 10% of employment through this program. But also for various other initiatives, we've seen a lot of transportation projects and infrastructure, but also connectivity through the national fiber optic, which is very critical as well for the various financial services, but also if you want to make sure that we have further use of digital financial services and various innovative products in the country. To sum it all, I think so far that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're a great audience. You did the applause before you are giving the cue. So thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for highlighting the initiatives that the government is doing and also directly moving to address the challenges that we have so hard. Mheshimiwa Waziri amechambanua taarifa ambayo inaonyesha jinsi ambavyo serikali inachukua hatua mbalimbali kwa ajili ya kutatua matatizo na changamoto tulizoziona ambazo zipo kwa makundi mbalimbali ya wananchi, na katika hayo ni lengo la kusaidia kwamba wananchi wataweza kupata hizo huduma rasmi za fedha. Now we'll be moving directly to Honorable Dr. Tatu, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance. And I'll ask you one question, which is almost similar, but in the context different given your role. So how do we harness the available opportunities in order to combat the challenges faced by the underserved population, business and segment, in order for them to access form of financial services? Welcome, Honorable PST.
Thank you very much. Honorable Vice President, Dr. Philip Isidori Mpango, Honorable high table guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observes. Thank you so much for your question. Well, talking from the Ministry of Finance point of view, I think the first thing to do, and I emphasize on the collaboration that is going on and is supposed to be strengthened between the public and the private sectors. And in this case, we have to have some strategic partnership. It's important to have strategic partnership. And I can cite 2 examples, and these are strategic partnership in terms of on implementation. The 6th phase government under the leadership of Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has observed that network along the country, the internet facilities are not available everywhere, and therefore a very strategic partnership have been developed between the government and the MNOs, and this is supported by the World Bank. And here, the broadband penetration is supposed to go further along in our country, and intention is about more than 700 wards. And these are translated to around 8.5 million individuals who are going to get access via this broadband penetration. So here, this is a strategic partnership on implementation between the government and the MNOs. Another partnership which can say in policy, and it relates right here where we are, let's take an example of the National Financial Inclusion the Council. The Council is, comprises members from the public and the private. You have policymakers, you have regulators, you have the private sector being the MNOs, the associations. And here we work together to guide and have the policy. So collaboration between the government and the public and private sector is really emphasized. The other one, I would say, consists of needs to continue implementing the financial sector development master plan. This master plan has been formulated from the Ministry of Finance, but this is, it guides the financial sector. It provides guidance and it shows, it has a roadmap. So financial inclusion is one of the pillars in the in the master plan. So it's being one of the pillars, and we have other pillars. We have pillars on financial stability, pillar on growth of the capital markets, and others. So particularly for financial inclusion, this as a pillar, it creates the, when you think about the FinScope survey, as others have said, FinScope survey had provided information on where we are in terms of whether it's access, whether it's richness and the like. So positively, the financial inclusion framework that is being established, that is being launched today, will be providing synergies and also complementing the what we are stating in the financial sector master plan. Another thing has to do with innovation. The private sector has to take up the challenge on innovation, because without innovation, and part of it is, if you look at the digital financial services, take an example of the insurance industry. We are supposed to pay insurance, and the insurers would say that we can pay digitally. Excellent. We will be paying digitally, but as you've seen, some of the setbacks that we've had from the video, you can pay, if insurance is supposed to be paid annually, but possibly some of the youth do not have resources to pay for the whole year. So what is really required here is have innovations that provide, it is digital, but you have to, not only automation, you have to be more innovative. And being more innovative is tailoring those products so that they can cater to the needs. So here, a message that I'm providing is that not only digitally, but you have to tailor those services in order for them to be innovative. And being innovative, they will serve the people more. The other issue relates to national IDs. This I'll focus to the youth from the video. He is 18, and he said some of the challenges he comes across is that he cannot even access SIM card positively in our country. If you are below 18 years old, you can't have a national ID, so you cannot access, he says he could not have a SIM card. Possibly he could have a SIM card, but not in his name, like others youth have, and that is a risk by itself. If you have a SIM card, but you cannot, you have a SIM card with somebody else's name, and you are earning an income, but still you cannot, the one who has the name is not sure on the usage. But nevertheless, the youth of 18 and who are economic active, as that young man we had seen. So if you are economic active and you are not part of, you don't have any digital footprint, but you have been earning. So in that case, it could be difficult to, when you reach 18, to be absorbed, or even to have access to credit and the like. And access to credit is the issue. So the government, through this SME policy, we have the SME policy, and part and parcel of issues already in the SME policy is how to provide access. Another issue is there are now alternative collaterals. Collaterals from the bank's point of view, it has to be something that is fixed. You register it, you get, if it's a mortgage or a loan, you service it, and there you are. Any other kind of collateral is considered risk. But with technology, we see that there is the behavioral part, behavioral economics kind of, and that you have these big data analytics. They have algorithms on how you use your phone. So if you are an individual who uses a lot of mobile wallet, you use a lot of mobile services in terms of financing, so they will assess you. And even today, I think some of us will just find that you have an alert that you can have Songeza, you can borrow up to maybe 120,000. It depends on your usage. So there are innovations that are coming in, of which these could be considered as alternative credit. So I could just sum up saying that we have the Financial Sector Development Master Plan. It provides guidance to the whole financial sector. We also have youth who are challenged, but those are challenges which the government are looking at. You also have these different kinds of collateral alternative coming in. So thank you, moderator. I can end here for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable PST. Kwa kifupi tu ni kwamba PST pia ametoa mikakati ambayo inatakika kufanyika kwa ajili ya kuongeza uwezo na wigo wa wananchi kuweza kupata huduma rasmi za fedha. Mikakati hiyo ni pamoja na kuwa sekta ya kutoa huduma za fedha kuwa wabunifu na kuweza kutoa hizo huduma kulingana na mazingira na mahitaji husika ya watumiaji wa huduma hizo, na pia kuangalia mikakati ya ushirikiano ambayo itasaidia kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba sekta ya umma na sekta binafsi zinashirikiana kwa kuweka mbele vipaumbele vya wananchi, kusogeza hizo huduma kule ambako pembezoni ambapo hazipatikani kwa urahisi. Na ametoa mifano ambayo serikali ya awamu ya 6 imekuwa ikiingia katika mikakati hii mizuri ya ushirikiano na kuongeza huduma hasa hizi za mitandao kwa wananchi. Asante Mheshimiwa. Now we'll go to Deputy Governor Mrs. Sauda Msemo, and I'll ask you a question that relates to how do you embrace now the National Financial Inclusion Framework number 3 to enhance the collaborative initiative so that we advance the public policy objectives on one hand and fulfill the private sector value proposition. Welcome, Mama Msemo. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Moderator. Your Excellency, Vice President, and distinguished guests, embracing the National Financial Inclusion Framework requires collaborative efforts between the public and the private sectors in key undertakings, which include data analytics system, monitoring outcomes, and research. On data analytics system, the implementation of supervisory technologies to enhance efficiency and the capacity for data collection and analytics by the supervisors on one hand, and investments by private sectors on regulatory technologies. So these initiatives will assist in ensuring compliance, but also embed disaggregated, high-quality, reliable data, which facilitate reporting on regular basis. So I would just like to highlight here that it's important to note that at the Bank of Tanzania, the bank has embarked on implementing a project. We call it a real-time supervision information system, which will help the bank in executing its legal mandate of supervising banks and financial institutions. The system will, of course, enable, as it's self-explanatory, it will enable collection of data on real-time basis. So the regulator will be able to know what is happening in the banks and financial institutions on real-time basis. On monitoring of outcomes, the implementation of the National Financial Inclusion, which is being launched today, it will ensure that we'll have initiatives which will ensure that we can assess, evaluate objectives that have been set in delivery of the targets for the focus segments. Here, the leadership and championship of the National Council for Financial Inclusion is expected actually to reinforce the coordination mechanism to ensure successful implementation of the framework to achieve the set goals. So there's focus segments, of course, as you have seen even in the video there. We have women, youth, SMEs, we have people with disabilities, but also farmers and fishers. On research, I would like to highlight that we are all aware that the market dynamics move very quickly. We see the technology, the pace at which technological advancement happens is actually faster, and compared with the formulation of regulatory framework to regulate the financial sector in general. Therefore, on research, we actually see the importance of collaborating in conducting market research, that is mapping the financial market landscapes and ensuring that research recommendations are well articulated and actions are taken in terms of the recommendations that come from these researches. We have, for instance, at the Bank of Tanzania, research initiatives in collaboration with academia and research institutions. So in this way, we are able to obtain feedback from the market, and so that we can, it can help us in formulating policies in general, tailored to meet the developments in the market. It's also worth noting that all these initiatives actually complement well with the Financial Sector Development Master Plan, which is under implementation, and the National Financial Inclusion Framework will, successful implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Framework will help to leapfrog on what has already been planned under the master plan. Just to add also in the issues that were raised, of course, in the video documentary that we have been watching shortly ago, we have seen a number of challenges, some of which hinges on collateral, in accessing credit from banks and financial institutions, but also the other area is on the costs. On the costs, I would like to mention that Bank of Tanzania is working on guidelines that will help to guide the market, the market players, the financial institutions, or rather our regulators. So we recognize, of course, the need to ensure a free market, but the guidelines will facilitate, at least give guidance on how better the costs can be adjusted or streamlined to ensure that majority of the population are able to access financial services in Tanzania. I think I will stop there for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor Mrs. Msemo. Naibu Governor Mrs. Msemo pia naye ameainisha jinsi ambavyo wasimamizi wa sekta ya fedha wanatatua hizi changamoto kwa kufanya mikakati mbalimbali, ikiwa ni kuweka mifumo thabiti ya usimamizi, lakini pia mifumo thabiti ya tehama kwa ajili ya kutatua changamoto ambazo wananchi wanazipata, na pia kutoa kanuni mbalimbali ambazo zitaweza kuweka unafuu wa kupata huduma hizi za fedha ili kuongeza wigo la wananchi kupata hizo huduma. Asante sana, Naibu Governor. And now 2 more panelists before we finish. I'll now go directly to Mr. Sabi as chair of the Tanzania Bankers Association and also the managing director of NBC. You've heard the challenges that have been facing by the videos that we've seen. You ain't been in the market. You're an agile, an ardent believer in innovation. So what do you really think should be how would harness these opportunities that exist, but how would you address the aspect from the tailoring perspective of services from the banking sector? Karibu sana.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Protocol observed. In addressing financial freedom from the banking sector's perspective, whilst we have made progress to now 22% as per the FinScope survey 2023, we still have a long way to go. I think that is a challenge that we in the banking sector accept. And to solve for bank account penetration as well as access to credit, we believe the following will be key. And the first that I want to stress on is the use of alternative channels to fasten the expansion of touch points for provision of financial services. Now, on this, I think Tanzania has made remarkable progress, especially with the onset of the agency banking model, which has matured to become an important part of the payment ecosystem in Tanzania. As we look forward, as a banking industry, we view agency banking as a critical part of banking penetration going forward. Whilst we've used it predominantly for payments, we see it as a critical element through which other banking services will be provided going forward. You will have noticed that a number of banks currently have capabilities for instant account opening at agent premises. These days, with the use of a NIDA card, one could walk into an agent and be able to walk out with a bank account virtually in five minutes. This capability should make it possible for the banking industry to grow its penetration going forward. So the partnership with mobile telecom operators as well as other fintechs going forward will make it easier for the banking industry to reach more Tanzanians conveniently, but more importantly, the cost to serve will be affordable for more people through the use of these alternative channels. I think the opportunity that we have is to make the use of these digital channels more friendlier and cheaper for our people, so that banking or having a bank account becomes something that our people do not consider to be the preserve of those who are considered to be wealthier or richer. The second item that we are, as an industry, focusing on is the approach around the youth, women, the rural populations, as well as those with disability. These are unique groups and have very specific needs. For example, when you look at women as a group, women have unique needs. They are not only involved in economic activities, but they carry quite significant responsibilities in child rearing and taking care of families. And therefore, from a banking perspective, the products and services that will be unique to women will be key as we move forward. Now, this is something that banks have already been doing, and I will just to mention some of the products that are already available for some of these groups. Includes Gona NMB. That's a product that NMB has, and it looks after the youth. Chama account by Bank of Africa. Tabasamu account by TCB. Imbeju account by CRDB, which is focusing on the agri-value chain, Kuanasi program at NBC, which is focusing on the youth and those who are self-employed, Fanikisha Maisha by Equity Bank.
Yes, Mr. Sabi,
to name a few.
Sorry to interrupt you. So if you don't mind, because we are running late, we'll just...
Thank you. I'll bring this to a close quickly. So we will have to continue to focus on these very specific products that look after these groups going forward to help with that. I think the last one, as I close, is the focus on educating the public that it's not necessarily that expensive to maintain a bank account, that any Tanzanian can access credit from the banking sector. So education will be a critical part of what we do going forward. And the TBA specifically has a program around educating the public, and linked to that will be very deliberate marketing that uses Swahili as a primary mode of communication. But communication reaching to the public will be key going forward, so we bridge the gap between the public and the banking industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sada. Asante sana mwenyekiti wa TBA, muungano wa mabenki. Naye pia ameainisha mikakati ambayo taasisi za fedha zitachukua kwa ajili ya kuhakikisha kwamba huduma hizi za fedha zinawafikia wananchi kwa wingi, ikiwa pamoja ni kuchakata na kutengeneza huduma hizo zinazoendana na matakwa ya wananchi. Sasa mwisho kabisa tutamsikiliza kijana ambaye ni mbunifu katika hii tasnia ya fedha, Mr. Tony. Mr. Tony, you run a fintech company and you've been receiving some awards based on the innovations that you have done. So what do you have to say in terms of harnessing the opportunities that exist, but also addressing the challenges that you've had from the segments? And you have, if you don't mind, 4 minutes so that you give us time exactly. We're supposed to finish within the hour. Thank you.
All right. Vice President and all protocols observed, good morning, everyone. So, wow, a lot has been said. I think someone was reading what I had written, so I'll try to be very brief as you've requested. Fintech is the new economic sector, and luckily it is disruptive. Fortunately, we have solid example of what it can become. We have seen the likes of Tigo Pesa, M-Pesa, how big they become. These are all fintechs. And as line of finance, we focus on addressing 3 key challenges, and some of them were highlighted there. The issue of collateral, there is the issue of flexible payment option that is caused by the problem being informal employment, and also the area of our population is nearly 50-50 Islamic and Christian. However, most of the digital products do not address the Islamic population. So we are the only fintech in Tanzania that has a solution that addresses the Islamic population at the moment. And we are very proud of that. And collateral is a barrier to entry, is a barrier to growth. We have also struggled in that space. We have a proven concept, but we failed to scale at the speed that we have. I must commend on the current regime, the current government, on the speed it has shown in executing decisions. For example, the regulatory sandbox, just when I thought it was an idea, we come to hear the framework is there and it's just waiting for final approval before it gets published. That is amazing. So this is why I say, if this is the speed that the current government is showing, I said that I might have one humble request or challenge, and that will be our takeaway for this whole audience and also to the Vice President, that I believe a unicorn will be found in Tanzania. I'm a strong believer of that there will be a fintech that will be evaluated at $1 billion. With the current regime, it is possible. So therefore, my challenge or my request, if it pleases you, that this government select 5 fintechs from today and give us, I've already assumed I'll be selected, but and give these 5 fintechs all the necessary support, the resources and access to whatever that is needed to achieve the ceiling of their growth that they can reach. And I believe by the time we are meeting next time, in 2028, inshallah, we will be talking something completely different. And that request comes from the fact that fintechs were being approached not only by local investors, but also international investors. A good example, Laina, we've just entered Rwanda. The moment we registered our company, we were approached by the financial sector. They have a unit for financial investment for Rwanda. The first request was, how would you feel if you put your headquarters to Rwanda? We'll help you fundraise. You'll be traveling with the president, and we will introduce you everywhere as a Rwandan company that is expanding in the rest of East African countries. So they have seen something that maybe we have not seen. But we know we can't compare ourselves to Nigeria, we can't compare ourselves to Rwanda, we cannot compare ourselves to Kenya. We have to create our own solutions, our own approaches that address our own challenges. Collateral must be redefined. I totally agree. At the same time, the issue of KYC, it is a barrier for most banks. We need to have more concepts that speaks around having shared KYC. So if NIDA cannot be printed for everyone, then it should be issued at the time of birth. But maybe the card is issued when you are 18. We're not shortage of technology. There are so many innovations around. Fintechs, there is Safari Wallet, we have Setlo, we have Kilimo Maendeleo, addressing different sectors in the country, from tourism all the way to agriculture. But the problem not being technology, the problem is we need to have use cases that will attract more participation and achieve inclusive finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. And you didn't miss opportunity to raise the FinTech World request to His Excellency, the Vice President. Kijana ambaye yupo katika tasnia hii ya ubunifu katika sekta ya fedha, naye ametoa changamoto ametoa fursa ambazo wameziona kutatua changamoto ambazo wananchi wanazipata kutaka kupata huduma rasmi za fedha, ikiwa pamoja na uwekezaji na pamoja na kuhakikisha kwamba watajitahidi hata Tanzania baada ya muda sio mrefu tuwe na kampuni ambayo ina thamani ya bilioni 1 za Kimarekani. Baada ya haya, naomba nirudishe sasa podium hii kwa MC. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the attention that you paid for this panel discussion. Asanteni sana.
Makofi hayatoshi, tuongeze tena makofi kwa moderator na panelists wote walioshiriki katika majadiliano hayo mafupi. Your Excellency Vice President, allow me now to invite Mr. Weber Deboa, Dutch Ambassador here in Tanzania, for short remarks before he introduces a video message of Her Majesty Queen Maxima of Netherlands. Karibu Mheshimiwa Balozi, makofi mengi kwake.
Habari za asubuhi. Asante sana. Mr. Vice President, all protocols observed. It's a great day, I think. Very important day. This third framework for financial inclusion will help millions of people around the country, especially on the countryside, to include themselves in the financial system. And that will help all those hard-working people to either start a business or to expand their business. We're very happy that our Queen is also contributing to this, and although, well, she would have very much liked to be here today, but she had previous engagements, and but she's here with you today virtually, and everybody that knows her and that has had a conversation with her will certainly know that she will not only follow the implementation of the third framework, but also actively participate in this. So I leave the floor to the Queen now. Thank you.
President Samia, Ministers, Governor Tatu, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone to the launch of the third Tanzanian National Financial Inclusion Framework. It is a pleasure to virtually join you today. In 2013, I had the privilege of supporting the first framework alongside the late Governor Undulu, an inspiration to all of us. Tanzania has made incredible strides since then. During my visit to Kilimanjaro last October, I met with smallholder farmers. They use innovative microinsurance services provided by Acre Africa to help mitigate extreme weather impacts. The financial services provider offers affordable microinsurance to farmers using weather satellite data to assess and predict risks. When disaster strikes, this data is used to trigger payouts that farmers receive digitally. This innovative set of digital services is helping farmers become more resilient to climate change. With the confidence gained from insurance coverage, they now invest in drought-resistant seeds and vital inputs like fertilizers to maximize crop yields. One innovation can unleash a cascade of benefits. This is a holistic promise of inclusive finance, especially digital. Financial inclusion matters because it has the power to transform lives and livelihoods. Yet, it is not an end. Rather, financial inclusion is a catalyst for job creation and enables active participation in an increasingly digital economy. It also provides a safety net against adversities like illness, drought, or accidents, while simultaneously fostering financial health. Additionally, it empowers women, boosts income levels, and enhances productivity. These benefits go beyond individuals and families. They resonate throughout the whole nation and contribute to stronger, more cohesive communities. Today, I am thrilled by Tanzania's powerful vision to harness technology and data for inclusive and affordable digital financial services. The renewed focus on improving access and usage is critical. I am also delighted to see the commitment to enhancing the quality of financial services, making sure they're beneficial and help build resilience for everyone in Tanzania. This sets a new standard and matches Tanzania's reputation as a global leader in financial inclusion. Ensuring an inclusive and secure digital infrastructure is paramount, particularly in overcoming the challenges faced by the most vulnerable groups, including the youth, women, and small businesses. I applaud the thoughtful approach taken in policy plans to specifically address the needs of these segments. Special congratulations to Governor Tatu and Minister Nchemba on your commendable efforts. I'm certain you both are aware that this is just the beginning. Your continued guidance in sequencing and prioritizing outcomes, coordinating across government, and defining how different strategic objectives effectively complement each other will be essential. creativity and engagement with customers, innovators, and various government entities will be needed to maximize the benefits of digital financial inclusion for the poor and vulnerable. Finally, I extend my gratitude to President Samia for your unwavering support in making financial inclusion a top priority for advancing Tanzania's economic and social development. Your steadfast leadership will play a pivotal role in effectively coordinating, implementing, and ensuring accountability among agencies to deliver tangible results. My partners and I are here to support you. I wish you success in all your efforts. Thank you.
Tuongeze tena makofi mengi. Yes, that was a video message of Her Majesty Queen Maxima of Netherlands. Kwa heshima na taadhima, Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Fedha, karibu uweze kumkaribisha mgeni rasmi. Tumkaribishe kwa makofi mengi sana.
Your Excellency, Vice President, kwa heshima na unyenyekevu mkubwa, may I invite you now to address the audience. Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais, karibu sana.
Tumkaribishe kwa makofi mengi sana Makamu wa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Bado tuongeze tena makofi mpaka anafika kwenye podium. Haya, asante. Naomba tuketi, tuwe watulivu, tumsikilize kiongozi wetu.
Honorable Dr. Mwigulu Lameck Nchemba, Minister of Finance, Honorable Ministers present, the Regional Commissioner of Dar es Salaam, the Honorable Governor of the Bank of Tanzania, who is also Chairperson of the National Council for Financial Inclusion, Permanent Secretaries present, Principal Secretaries from the Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Heads of Diplomatic Missions and Diplomatic Development Partners present, Senior Government Officials, Private Sector Leaders, our distinguished clergy and religious leaders from the Christian Council of Tanzania, the Tanzania Episcopal Conference and BAKWATA, Defense and Security Committee members from Dar es Salaam region, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, I wish to welcome you all to this very important event. Karibuni sana. I'm also delighted and honored to launch the third National Financial Inclusion Framework for the year 2023 to 2028 on behalf of Her Excellency the President. The launch of this framework is a key milestone in the development of our financial sector. And I want to thank the Minister of Finance from both the mainland and Zanzibar, as well as the Governor of the Bank of Tanzania and Chairman of the National Council for Financial Inclusion, as well as the organizing team for really excellent arrangements of this event. Allow me to recognize and commend in a very special way 3 individuals. One, of course, is the champion of financial inclusion in the country, Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania. But together with her, I want to recognize two long-term friends of Tanzania, Her Majesty Queen Maxima of the Netherlands and Dr. Alfred Hanning, the Executive Director of Alliance for Financial Inclusion, and I do so for their profound contribution to our various initiatives on financial inclusion in Tanzania. Excellencies and distinguished participants, I want to commend very highly those who have who participated in preparing the video. In short, it says it all in terms of the challenges ahead of us on the road to financial inclusion in Tanzania. Equally, I sincerely congratulate the panelists for great insights on the progress we have made so far on financial inclusion and how to move forward. Natamani sana kama uzinduzi wote huu ungekuwa kwa Kiswahili, maana lugha nayo sio jumuishi na hasa kwa walengwa. Lakini basi nitaendelea hivyo hivyo. Excellencies and distinguished participants, financial inclusion is among the important drivers of socio-economic development, and more so in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, where income inequality has escalated to a great extent, with differences between the rich and the poor, the financially included and the financially excluded becoming increasingly obvious. And in very specific terms, financial inclusion is key to integrating the unbanked into the formal economy, which helps to elevate poverty, to alleviate poverty, make the poor less vulnerable to financial shocks, broaden the tax base, stimulate public spending, and raise the living standards for all. Excellencies and distinguished participants, as we have heard, in Tanzania, financial inclusion is among the top priorities of our reform agenda and constitutes a key objective of the National Development Vision 2025, as well as the National 5-Year Development Plan. I'm happy to note that implementation of the second financial inclusion framework recorded very good results, as we have heard, with greater evolution of access to finance by Tanzanians. For instance, the national average of people living within 5 kilometers from formal financial services, they have increased to 89% in 2023 from 86% in 2017. And in some urban areas, we are told we have achieved inclusion by 100%. And according to the FinScope survey of this year, the number of the adult population using banking services has increased from 16.7% in 2017 to 22.2%. And this is closely moving towards the 33% target we set ourselves for 2025-2026. And overall, the survey has showed that the use of formal financial services among adults of age 16 and above has increased to 76% in 2023 from 65.3% in 2017, with the gap between men and women narrowing to 3% in 2023 compared to 10% in 2020. The rapid developments in financial inclusion had positive impact on growth of the financial sector, as the Minister did point out, which recorded growth rate of 9.1% in 2022 compared to a contraction of 2.7% in 2017. And I must say I'm very glad that these notable achievements are a result of public and private sector collaborative efforts. Excellencies and distinguished participants, despite the achievements attained in expanding financial inclusion in the country, the remaining major challenge is to fully include the entire economically active population to access and use formal financial services. And for instance, in rural areas, only less than 10% of the adult population has access to formal banking services. And the underlying existing barriers to access and usage of formal financial services, as we have been told, include the lack of universal access to national IDs that would have facilitated ease of opening financial service accounts, inadequate access to fixed collateral, and alternative affordable collaterals for assessing and expanding credit to underserved population. But there is also onerous process for business formalization, an affordable cost of financial services that includes high interest and non-interest rate charges, and unfriendly environment for women, youth, and people with disability. It is for these reasons that today we are launching the third National Financial Inclusion Framework for the period 2023 to 2028 that will, I hope, create the impetus for addressing economic challenges facing our citizens. Financial inclusion is a very important pillar that should be given due consideration if we are to ensure that no one is left behind. Excellencies and distinguished participants, in order to ensure that more economically active Tanzanians are included in formal financial services, I would like to emphasize to the distinguished audience here and other stakeholders to focus on the following, but I must emphasize harnessing on technology. First, I think is to ensure that the set targets in the third National Financial Inclusion Framework are achieved by the end of 2028, and I think we'll do so, especially if we direct efforts at addressing financial inclusion needs of the disproportionately underserved segments, i.e. women, youth, micro, small and medium enterprises, people with special needs, farmers and fishermen. And these efforts will complement the initiatives being implemented under the Tanzania Generation Equality Program. Second, in collaboration with the Ministry of Home Affairs, I think we need to ensure universal access to national identification and expand the scope of access to the national identification from birth. and I believe this will facilitate expansion of access to formal financial services to the youth, including those under the age of 18. Third, I think we need to strengthen financial consumer protection, particularly against cyber crimes and market malpractices, to build consumer trust and confidence in using financial services. Fourth, I think we need to reduce the cost of accessing and using formal financial services and developing regulatory frameworks and systems to enhance use of and expanded scope of collateral for easy access to credit. Finally, I think we need to increase efforts to extend affordable shared payments infrastructure to enhance the use of formal financial services. But in tandem, there is greater need to enhance universal connectivity, reduce reliance on use of cash transactions, and expand efficiency and competitiveness of the financial sector in Tanzania. Excellencies and distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I wish to commend our development partners for continued support and collaboration in our journey to achieve holistic financial inclusion in Tanzania. Let me also express Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan's resolve and full commitment to support implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Framework for 2023 to 2028. And maybe finally, may I take this opportunity to direct the Minister of Finance, United Republic of Tanzania, and the Minister of Finance of Zanzibar to work together and rise up to the challenge posed by our friend Tony. So with these remarks, I thank everyone present at this very important event, and I'm now ready to officially launch the National Financial Inclusion Framework for 2023 to 2028. I thank you for your kind attention.
Asante, makofi mengi sana. Tusimame kwa heshima na taadhima. Kuna kitu cha kubonyeza, Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais, kwa heshima na taadhima. 1, 2, 3. Makofi na vigelegele. Naomba ubaki hapo hapo kwa heshima na taadhima. Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais. Anasalimiana na mmoja wa washiriki. Kitakachofuata sasa ni kitabu, cover ya kitabu kupandishwa juu. Naam, hiyo cover page inapanda. Makofi na vigelegele. Hiyo ni cover page ya National Financial Inclusion Framework. Piga tena makofi mengi. Haya, asante. Tuongeze tena makofi kwa heshima ya makamu wa rais baada ya kuzindua mpango mkakati wa taifa wa huduma jumuishi za fedha 2023-2028. Asante sana Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais. Sasa unaweza ukaketi. Naomba tukae.
Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais, kinachofuata sasa hivi mwenyekiti wa baraza la huduma jumuishi za kifedha Governor Emmanuel Tutuba kwa niaba ya members wote wa baraza hilo atasaini mbele yako mkakati ambao umeuzindua leo.
Na mtazamaji wa TBC1, Gavana wa Benki Kuu Dr. Emmanuel Tutuba akitia saini katika kitabu kile ambacho kinaelezea mkakati wa kitaifa ambao umezinduliwa hivi punde wa huduma jumuishi za fedha wa miaka 5 2023-2028. Mkakati wa kwanza ulimalizika mwaka 2016, wa pili ulimalizika Disemba 2022 na huu uliozinduliwa hii leo ni mkakati wa tatu ambao umezinduliwa na makamu wa rais Dr. Mpango, na hapo akipokea mkakati huu. Na makamu wa rais akionyesha juu kitabu hicho ambacho kimezinduliwa hii leo cha mpango mkakati wa kitaifa huduma jumuishi za fedha kwa miaka 5 utakaanza 2023-2028. Tumsikilize mtoa maelezo.
Unaashiria makubaliano na umoja wa baraza hili katika utekelezaji wa mkakati huu. Pamoja na mkakati huu tumeambatanisha pia ripoti ya tathmini ya utekelezaji wa mpango wa pili ambapo iko huko ndani. Pamoja na hayo pia tumeambatanisha nakala ndogo ya Kiswahili kuhusiana na mkakati huo. Na pamoja na hayo pia kuna tools zingine ambazo zitasaidia katika utekelezaji wa huu mkakati. Pamoja na tools hiyo tuna implementation support guide pamoja na guide for financial educators. Tumeona hapa kwamba swala la elimu ni kikwazo kikubwa sana katika ufikiaji wa malengo ya huduma jumuishi za kifedha, na pia communication framework ambayo itasaidia pamoja na baraza kujua ni nini kinachoendelea katika utoaji na upatikanaji wa huduma za kifedha. Asante sana Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais.
Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais, naomba uridhie kwa ajili ya zoezi la picha za kumbukumbu, na picha za kumbukumbu zitapigwa hapo nje. Tutatoka kwenda kupiga kundi la kwanza mawaziri na manaibu mawaziri. Naomba tujiandae. Lakini Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais, niombe radhi, nilitaja viongozi washiriki nikasahau kuwataja wenye nyumba hii, wafanyakazi wa BOT wote. Kwa heshima na taadhima, hebu tusimame Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais atuone. Ni hao. Raweza kujikuta amefungiwa mlango hutoki hapa. Asanteni sana. Haya, waheshimiwa mawaziri, manaibu mawaziri, twendeni tuingilie kule. Wakati huo najua maafisa anafanya utaratibu eneo la kupigia picha. Mawaziri, manaibu mawaziri, twendeni.
Na mpenzi mtazamaji wa TBC1, shughuli hii inakaribia kufika tamati, na sasa zoezi linalofuata ni kupiga picha, lakini pia ni kufahamishe tu kwa ufupi malengo yaliyowekwa katika mkakati huu. Katika mkakati mpango wa kitaifa, mpaka sasa ni 89% ya watu wazima wanaoishi ndani ya kilomita 5 za pointi za huduma ya upatikanaji wa huduma za fedha. Lakini kwa mujibu wa mkakati huu uliozinduliwa, inataraji ifikapo mwaka 2028 98% ya watu wazima wanaoishi ndani ya kilomita 5 za pointi za huduma ya upatikanaji wa huduma za fedha kufikiwa. Lakini pia mpaka sasa ni 30% tu ya watu ambao ni wakopaji wenye taarifa katika mfumo rejea wa mikopo. Na katika mpango huu lengo ni kufikia 35% ya wakopaji wenye taarifa katika mfumo rejea wa mikopo. Lakini mpaka sasa kwa mwaka huu, hali ilivyo kwa mwaka 2023, ni 76% ya watu wazima walio na akaunti zinazoweza kufanya miamala katika taasisi za fedha, na lengo la mpango ni ifikapo mwaka 2028 kufikia 85% ya watu wazima walio na akaunti zinazoweza kufanya miamala katika taasisi za fedha. Lakini 11% ya biashara ndogo na zakati zilizo na akaunti katika taasisi za fedha ndio hali iliyopo katika mwaka huu 2023. Mpaka mwaka 2028 inataraji kufikia 16%, na haya ni kwa uchache tu, lakini dira kabisa wa Tanzania watu wazima na biashara zao kufikia na kutumia bidhaa na huduma mbalimbali za fedha zenye ubora, gharama nafuu zinazoboresha kipato na hali zao za kifedha. Mpango wa kwanza ulihitimishwa mwaka 2016, mpango wa pili ulihitimishwa mwaka 2022 Disemba, na hii leo ndio mpango wa tatu unazinduliwa ambao utahitimishwa mwaka 2028. Kwa niaba ya wote waliokuletea matangazo hayo, mimi ninaitwa Gloria Michael. Nirejeshe matangazo hapo studio kwake Ibrahim Chawe kuendelea na vipindi vinavyoendelea hapo TBC1, kweli na uhakika.
Kutoka katika ukumbi huo wa BOT ambapo tumeshuhudia uzinduzi wa mpango wa tatu wa kitaifa wa ujumuishaji wa kifedha, na tumeona mipango mingi ya serikali katika kurahisisha huduma na kuhakikisha kwamba basi huduma za kifedha zinawafikia wananchi moja kwa moja, lakini zaidi kuwasaidia wanawake pamoja na vijana katika shughuli zao mbalimbali za ujasiriamali. Lakini tumeona wito pia hapo wa serikali kwa wadau wa fedha basi kuunga mkono mpango huo ili kurahisisha zaidi